magiting sa manlulupin. Di ka pasisihin sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukaw. May nilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawag mo'y tagumpay na naglilingling. Ang bituin at araw niyang kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhating pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay lang dahil sa'yo.
Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Almighty God, as we are gathered here this morning, we give thanks for the opportunity to celebrate this capital market milestone with His Excellency, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., his enlightened and hardworking economic team, and esteemed leaders of PSE-listed companies. We ask that your divine guidance and wisdom be bestowed upon our President as he speaks, so that his words may, as always, inspire national unity and progress. Bless our President and his family, everyone gathered here today, and above all, our beloved country. Let your mighty hand direct and steer our path as we work together to promote and enhance the development of our capital markets for the benefit of the entire nation. This we ask in your holy name and eternal glory. Amen.
To give his welcome remarks, may we call on the PSE President and CEO, Mr. Ramon S. Monzon. Guests, you may be seated.
His Excellency, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs, Secretary Frederick Go, Finance Secretary Ralph G. Recto, SEC Chairman Attorney Francis Ed Lim, esteemed heads of PSE-listed companies, PSE Board of Directors, led by Chairman Jose T. Pardo. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This morning's bell-ringing ceremony is an auspicious way for PSE to start the second half of 2025 as we celebrate the implementation date of the landmark legislation, Capital Markets Efficiency Promotion Act, or CMEPA. Technology has drastically changed stock market trading as we know it. Investors are now able to access global markets and easily trade in markets where they can find attractive returns, manage risk, and trade with the minimum of friction costs. Our country meets two of these three investment criteria. We have many listed companies at the PSE that provide exceptional returns. Our country and local market risks have proven to be manageable. Unfortunately, with a stock transaction tax, or STT, of 0.6% and a minimum broker's commission of 0.25% each for a buy and sell trade, our market had the highest friction costs among the ASEAN 6 exchanges. Singapore, Thailand, and Malaysia have no STT, or minimum broker's commission. Indonesia and Vietnam have likewise no minimum broker's commission, but like the Philippines, have an STT, but only 0.1%. Last April 17, 2024, the Securities and Exchange Commission removed the minimum commission that stockbrokers may charge their customers. Today, thanks to CMEPA, all trades at the Philippine Stock Exchange will be subject to an STT of only 0.1% from 0.6%. Finally, making us competitive with our regional peers in terms of friction costs. Friction cost has an influence on an exchange's trading volume. When Taiwan reduced its STT for day trading in April 2017 from 0.3 to 0.15%, the average daily trading volume of the Taiwan Stock Exchange increased by 3.09 times from 2016 to 2020. In fact, Taiwan Stock Exchange's trading volume surged to 6.33 times between 2016, prior to the STT decrease, and its peak in 2021, 5 years later. We thank Special Assistant to the President for Investment Economic Affairs, Secretary Frederick Go, for initially proposing the one-time reduction of the STT. Congressman Joey Salceda for authoring and sponsoring the CMEPA bill at the House of Representatives, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian for authoring and sponsoring the Senate version of the CMEPA, and of course, to Secretary Ralph Recto, without whose support and approval, the bill could not have passed. The rest is history, as CMEPA was signed into law last May 29, 2025, by our stock market savvy President, Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. While the reduction in STT is expected to boost market activity, it is not the panacea that will solve our market's liquidity issue. We must complement this STT reduction with continuing initiatives to grow the number of listed firms and expand our product and service offerings. We must also continue to find more ways to get more people to invest in the stock market instead of spending for non-essentials or throwing their hard-earned money on online gambling. In this regard, PSE entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Migrant Workers last February 29, 2024, under which PSE will conduct learning sessions for OFWs and their families on personal finance and stock market investment, while at the same time protecting them from investment scams. Just 2 weeks ago, we also entered into an MOU with the Commission on Filipinos Overseas, under which PSE will showcase its PSE Academy website, along with its online and mobile app-based platforms for disclosures, market data, and initial public offering subscriptions in the webinars and training sessions we will conduct for Filipinos staying overseas for good. Still, nothing beats providing financial education to students while they are still young. And it is still possible to influence them to shift to a savings mindset from a spending or gambling mindset. We will work with the CHED and the Department of Education to include financial education in its curriculum and teach young students that the saver's mindset is a way of life. We will also continue to work with the Securities and Exchange Commission and our multiple stakeholders for vital stock market reforms that will help make the Philippine capital market more competitive, efficient, and investor-friendly. A few of the upcoming initiatives which we hope will support more trading activity include the amendment of the board lot table to make investing more affordable and accessible to Filipinos, regulations for global Philippine depository receipts, streamlined requirements for securities borrowing and lending, and introduction of derivative products such as index futures. In closing, I would like to extend PSE's gratitude once again to President Bongbong Marcos for this legacy he will leave on the Philippine capital market. And thank you everyone who joined us in the special bell ringing ceremony.
Thank you, Mr. Monzon. At this point, may we call on Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs, Secretary Frederick Go, to introduce our keynote speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Thank you very much, Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs, Secretary Go, for that introduction. Please take your seat for that introduction. Finance Secretary, Secretary Ralph Recto, and joining us are one of the main proponents of all of the new law, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, the Philippine Stock Exchange Chairman, Jose Pardo, PSE President and CEO, Mon Monzon, and the Board of Directors, my fellow workers in government, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is with pleasure that I join you here today for this special bell ringing ceremony. Today we usher in a new phase of economic opportunity for every Filipino. In May of 2025, this year, I signed into law the Capital Markets Efficiency Promotion Act, or CMEPA. This timely and strategic tax reform redefines and transforms how Filipinos invest, build, and grow their hard-earned savings. Before this law, investing in stocks meant paying a tax, as Mon was explaining, paying a tax of 0.6%, 6 times higher than our neighbors in Singapore, Malaysia, and certainly the highest in Asia. Under CMEPA, that rate has been reduced to 0.1%. For a first-time investor, buying a 10,000 peso worth of stock, this means paying 10 pesos in tax instead of 60. This will encourage more Filipinos to invest in our capital markets. This law also removed the documentary stamp tax on mutual funds and unit investment trust funds, investment tools widely used by young professionals and middle-class savers. The adjustment on rates lowers barriers and opens the market to more investors. Additionally, we have introduced a uniform final tax rate of 20% on interest income. This simplifies compliance, removing confusion, and in a way, leveling the playing field. This law also offers incentives for companies that help employees save for their retirement. Private employers that match or exceed their workers' contributions to the Personal Equity and Retirement Accounts, or PERA, are now entitled to an additional 50% tax deduction on their actual contributions. And at the same time, CMEPA removes certain exemptions to enhance fairness in our tax system. Government-owned or controlled corporations are now generally subject to the same passive income taxes as other institutions. From now until the year 2030, CMEPA is projected to generate over 25 billion pesos in net revenue, a substantial sum that can help fund the building of roads, bridges, hospitals, schools, other social safety net programs as well. But beyond revenue, CMEPA reinforces confidence. It shows that our financial system is becoming more equitable and structured for long-term stability. So let's be clear. The reform is not just for well-off and for the well-off and for the professionals, for the stock traders. It is for every Filipino who dreams of better financial security. It empowers the small business owner, the young professional, the overseas Filipino worker to start investing their hard-earned money to build a better future. Para sa bawat Pilipino, ito po ang layunin ng pamahalaan. Alisin ang mga balakid at palawakin ang mga oportunidad para sa ating pag-uunlad. Indeed, this act allows Filipinos to be true participants in our nation's economic growth. This law enhances our competitiveness in the ASEAN region and strengthens the foundation of a capital market that can thrive on the global stage. So we extend our sincere gratitude to our legislatures for passing this landmark law. This is what happens when we put our people first. Reforms become reality. Now, to all concerned agencies, let us make it our mission to ensure that every Filipino will feel the full benefits of this law without delay. To ensure the successful implementation of this reform, I direct the Securities and Exchange Commission to streamline its procedures, remove bureaucratic bottlenecks, reduce transaction costs within its control. Undertake the necessary changes to fulfill your responsibilities in these changing times. Equally important, let us also recognize that market integrity is a shared responsibility. I urge all market participants and stakeholders to uphold transparency, fairness, and good governance. By working together in good faith, we can build an industry that earns the market's trust both here and abroad. Today, as we ring the bell to open the market, we signal a new era of economic dynamism, investor confidence, and sustainable growth. That every ring from this morning and every day, trading day thereafter, echo our strength, our optimism, our shared hope for a more prosperous future for all Filipinos. Maraming salamat at mabuhay kayong lahat. Mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this point, may we request the President to please remain on stage for the bell ringing. May we also call on Secretary Go, Secretary Recto, Senator Gatchalian, and Madpardo, Chairperson Lim, Monzon, and Directors Yuchenko, De Castro, and Aquino to proceed on stage for the photo opportunity. For the photo opportunity, may we call on stage first set for the photo opportunity. May we also request on stage the publicly listed company's chairman, president, and CEOs to please join on stage for a photo opportunity. Thank you to our PLC's chairman, president, and CEOs. Next, may we call on stage the PSE Board of Directors. Thank you to our PSE Board of Directors. Now may I please call on the PSE Management Committee and officers for a photo opportunity. Thank you to our PSE management and officers. May we also call on prior to CMEPA, the Philippines had the highest stock transaction tax among the ASEAN 6. Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand do not impose stock transaction tax or capital gains tax on their stock market transactions. Indonesia and Vietnam impose stock transaction tax but only at 10 basis points. Time check. It's 9:24 a.m., about 6 minutes before we ring the opening bell. The CMEPA expands of the application of STT to other securities listed and traded through a local stock exchange. This lends certainty to the tax regime applicable to the secondary transfers through the stock exchange of asset classes other than equities and facilitate the launch of more products in the local stock market. CMEPA also exempts from DST of the original issuance, redemption, or other disposition of shares in a mutual fund company in the issuance of certificate or other evidence of our participation in a mutual fund or unit investment trust fund. Granted the additional tax deduction or equivalent to 50% of the employer's contribution to private employers which contribute to their employees' PERA accounts in an amount equal or greater than their employees' contribution. Time check, it's 9:26 a.m. 4 minutes left before we ring the opening bell and welcome this milestone in the equities market. Again, today, July 1 of 2025 is a significant date for the Philippine Stock Exchange as Republic Act number 12214 or the Capital Markets Efficiency Promotion Act takes effect today. For this milestone, we are joined by no less than President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., who will be ringing the opening bell for the first time, which in itself is a historic occasion. At this point, may we request the President to go on stage for the bell ringing. May we also call on Secretary Go, Secretary Recto, Senator Gatchalian, SEC Chairperson Lim, PSE Chairperson Pardo, President Monzon, and Directors Yuchenko, De Castro, and Aquino to go up the stage in a while. Again, may we please call on Secretary Go, Secretary Recto, Senator Gatchalian, SEC Chairperson Lim, PSE Chairperson Chairman Pardo, President Monzon, and Directors Yuchenko, De Castro, and Aquino to proceed on stage. Time check. We have less than 2 minutes to go before we ring the opening bell. May we request President Marcos and Chairperson Pardo to hold on to the rope and bell chain as we prepare for the bell ringing. 1 minute left. Last 30 seconds to go. Twenty seconds. Let's get ready for the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes our program. Thank you, Mr. President, for spending your valuable time with us today. Once again, the President of the Republic of the Philippines, His Excellency Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
niyo pong napanood. Naku, ito napakaganda nito dahil pure business.